Yo, what up, a-holes? It's your boy, Eric Levi, the Holistic A-Hole, coming at you here with a video today talking about the unfortunate, untimely death of famous New York City-based chef Carl Ruiz and the crazy plant-based community response to the passing of this famed chef. There's a lot of different angles to this story. So I'm going to try to go piece by piece here to kind of put together my thoughts on what I think is going on here. So if you're not aware, right now I'm recording this in mid-October or kind of late October, and Carl Ruiz passed away in late September 2019. And he died. Cause of death was revealed about a month later of clogged arteries, atherosclerosis. He basically died of a heart attack in his sleep. Dude was 44 years old, which is, that's tragic. I feel so sad for this guy's family, for his fans. Anytime a celebrity passes away, generally, I don't really care. And I kind of feel the same way about this, but the reason this one strikes me is because, first of all, it deals in my field, which is health, but second of all, because the response is aimed at so many different nutritional ideas. And it's just really been gross to go through social media and see the response from plant-based activists, vegans, vegetarians, who are, really throwing a lot of shade at this guy and his fans, pretty much just kind of kicking a horse when it's down, saying that, well, this is what you get for eating meat. You get a heart attack at 44 years old. This guy didn't die of a heart attack because he ate meat. He died of a heart attack because of clogged arteries, atherosclerotic plaque, because he ate a garbage diet. And I'm not even in a position to say that that was the cause of why he died the way he died. None of us are in a position to say that this guy died because of his diet. What we know is that he died because of clogged arteries. But what we don't know is, along with his diet, what were these other confounding factors? Maybe he had a genetic disposition towards excessive cholesterol plaqued up in his arteries, which, by the way, doesn't happen because you eat cholesterol. This is such a debunked theory that just continues to pervade throughout, nutritional, social media or media. If you eat cholesterol, it does not mean that cholesterol forms in your arteries. In many instances, cholesterol is actually beneficial. It's an antioxidant. It's in the lipid bilayer of your cells. Your cells are made of fat. Your cell membrane is made of fat. You need fat. You need cholesterol. Now, there's a difference between cholesterol and oxidized cholesterol. There's a difference between eating good quality source fats and straight up garbage fats. And again, I don't know a lot about this guy, Carl Ruiz. I'm not a Food Network person. I don't follow chefs on social media. The problem with saying that this guy died because he ate meat is so incredibly short-sighted. So what I want to do right now, actually, is pull up his Twitter. All right, so this is my personal introduction to this guy, Carl Ruiz. And you can see right here, okay, right here in his profile, what is that? It's a big old Cuban sandwich right there. And if you notice, in the Cuban sandwich, there is some meat, but then there's a whole bunch of other shit, mostly bread. There's a whole bunch of bread. And last time I checked, bread is a plant-based food. In fact, if you want to get super specific, many vegans tout the health benefits of things like grains and bread. Now, I know I'm being a little facetious here. They don't say, hey, eat a panini roll, white bread, but that's plant. That's plant right there. You got some cheese. That's not so much plant. Oh, and by the way, not many health proponents or health people, whether it's in the paleo, keto community, well, some in the keto do, but I think we're all kind of on board that dairy like this, cheese, is pretty awful. So when you scroll through this guy's Twitter feed, I mean, this is what you see when you go through his Instagram. Oh, his Instagram is just money. Is just money right here, because what you start seeing all the crap this guy ate. So this was very sad. His last meal right here. This was crab cakes. He was in Maryland, and then look, some collard greens. Collard greens, that's a plant-based thing, right? He was eating crab cakes, right? No health proponent is going to sit here and tell you, hey, you know what's you want to get your health together? Go find yourself some good fried crab cakes. You know, that's what all the paleos are eating. That's what all, you can't grow that on a farm. So it's good. It's healthy. You can eat it. It's from the water. It's like fish, full of omegas. Nobody is touting the proponents or the health properties of crab cakes. This is just ridiculous, right? So if we're going to talk about this guy and his affinity to meat, let's be accurate with it, right? The guy ate a lot of shit, okay? Here's some more, okay? Look at this. What we got? We got some fries, right? We got some good old, what we got? Perfectly hand-cut French fries and homemade gravy. Ooh, be still my cold, dead black heart. That's not a great post to have a couple days before you have a heart attack. But look at this, man. Nobody, whether you're plant-based or you're a carnivore or keto or paleo, nobody signs off on this right here, okay? So when we're sitting here talking about, this guy and his diet was the reason he died, his diet probably was a huge contributor, and he probably comes from a long line of a family where heart disease runs in your family. It was in his genes. He probably has specific genes that don't do well with things like saturated fat or starch or sugar. And from a young age, when you're eating this way, it's going to start plaquing up in your arteries. You're going to start dealing with high levels of inflammation. Here's another thing that never gets talked about with heart disease, only amongst people, I think, who kind of sort of know what they're talking about, which is the idea of homocysteine, right? Homocysteine has been directly linked to atherosclerotic plaque. And homocysteine comes not because of eating animal foods, although that doesn't help because what homocysteine is the byproduct of the amino acid methionine not being properly converted into, I believe it's SAMe. So what happens is you get this toxic byproduct of homocysteine, which eventually leads to atherosclerotic plaques in your arteries, and of course things like heart disease. And this is a thing that can happen with vegans too, because one major cause of homocysteine buildup is the lack of B12, which is one of the biggest things missing from a vegan diet. So look, I'm not going to sit here and just spend this video coming down on vegans, because personally, I've been vegan. I was vegan for a year, about a year and a half or so. And I loved it. I 100% empathize with the plight of vegans. I understand, that this is a thing you're passionate about. And if there's one thing I know about being vegan, is that when you're vegan, you adopt not just the diet, but you adopt the ideology, and you adopt the idea that you are saving the world, and everybody who's not vegan is the reason the world is going to be over in 12 years. You believe that cow farts are causing global warming. You believe that, whether you eat meat that is grown in a CAFO, animal agriculture industry farm, or it's grass-fed. It's all the same shit, and it's all contributing to global warming. You watch all the videos with all the vegan science, and your own health starts to fall apart. But you will never attribute it to the vegan diet because you have swallowed that pill so hard. And the fact is, for most of these vegans or vegetarians talking shit online, you have to understand, most of you are not going to be vegan or vegetarian for that long. Some of you, probably most of you, most of the people who are saying these things, you just got in this world and you're very excited about it. And you feel this sense of responsibility to bring it to the attention that everybody who is not plant-based is evil, especially a chef who dies at 44 from heart disease who glorified his love of meat. Now, there's a picture that's going around. Oh, I want to bring it up here if I can find it. That basically has this guy, Carl Ruiz, wearing a shirt that says, oh, wait, I think it's this one here. Here we go. Let's bring that up. So this is the picture that is going around right now. This guy holding a plate of meat. He's 0% vegetarian, and the line that goes along with it is that this guy spent his life. Let's see, where is it? Spent his time glorifying meat and bashing vegetarians and vegans. Now, I spent some time looking around the internet for quotes of his bashing vegetarians and vegans, with the exception of this shirt, which, by the way, is a fun shirt when you're holding a plate of meat. There's nowhere anywhere of him just bashing vegans and vegetarians. In fact, if you look up the menus of his restaurants, like for instance this La Cubana place, which is in New York, which is his newest restaurant, and you look at the menu, let's see if we can pull that up, you see that he does include a lot of vegetables and plant-based items in his food. Okay, we got the ensalada de barro, tomate, aguacate, y cebolla, which is watercress, tomato, avocado, and onion salad. That's pretty ballsy for a guy who spent his life bashing vegetables. What else we got here? We got you would think I can speak better Spanish for a guy who lives in Puerto Rico. Escabeche de remolacha, traditional sweet and sour roasted beets. Yeah, pretty high up there on the vegetables, I would say. So, look, I'm not going to go through the guy's whole menu and start picking apart what's plant-based and what's not. The point is that this guy didn't spend his time as a carnivore. He ate plenty of vegetables and plenty of plant-based things. But again, when you go through his Twitter and his Instagram, what you find are a lot of fried bullshit, a lot of fried garbage. You find stuff like this. I don't know, what is that, a sloppy Joe or a roast beef sandwich? You find, stuff like this, a fish and chicken place. He's in front of, the papaya dog right there in New York City. I mean, he's got pictures of hot dogs, a ton of pictures of hot dogs. No health proponent of paleo or keto or any diet would ever approve of this, fried chicken or fried fish and French fries, hot dogs. The guy drank like a fish, and then he had a show on YouTube where he reviewed restaurants like McDonald's and Wendy's and Applebee's and Outback Steakhouse. So, I mean, the guy's diet overall was awful. Add to the fact that he was a chef, a famous chef, who owned restaurants all over New York City, including Times Square. So you have the addition of, ungodly amounts of stress, and you kind of put all this together, and you can see why a person would succumb to heart disease at a very early age. Now, 44 is completely unreasonable, right? So it's not that meat made him die early. It's that a lifetime of all of these different factors most likely contributed. So if you're a person and you see that this guy died and you are of the plant-based variety, sure, I understand. I can surely empathize with that knee-jerk reaction to say, oh, it's because of the meat. It's because of the meat. See, that's what happens. Everybody who eats meat dies by the age of 44. I can certainly empathize with that because, look, I've been there. But what you got to know is that you're wrong. And more than that, you're an asshole. You're a real prick for basically talking ill of a person who brought so much joy to so many people. And even though you did not agree with the way that this guy saw the world and the things he did in the world, he didn't hurt anybody. He didn't poison anybody. He didn't, he wasn't in politics. He didn't steal money from anybody. Yeah, he cooked dead animals. I get it. That's not your world. I understand, You could probably just sit back and say, well, there are some points for our team. You could sit back and say that, but going on and spreading this idea that this is what happens when you eat meat, well, surely then we would see a whole bunch of body bags of people who are in their mid-40s who spent their lives eating meat. And what's funny is you don't see that. In fact, what you see are plenty of people in late age of life, whether in their 70s, 80s, 90s, maybe even people who live to 100. I don't know how many people live to 100 who are eating animal products and are even doing things like drinking booze, and even there's people who smoke cigarettes and live that long. So I get it. I get that you want to stand up on your soapbox and tell everybody that you were right for going vegan, but what I know won't tell people is that your own health is probably falling apart, that you are dealing with problems like fatigue. If you're a woman, you're probably dealing with thyroid issues. You're probably dealing with skin issues. On top of the fact, look how many vegans were on social media talking all about their great vegan diet and then eventually left the vegan diet. And another thing that vegans don't take into account is that so many people who are now touting things like the paleo diet, keto diet, even the carnivore diet, at one time, I'm willing to bet, in fact, I know many of those people were plant-based people. So really in the end, what you got to do with this is it's very sad when somebody like this dies. And if you choose to be a plant-based person, that's fine. That's great. You should experiment with that diet. But also know that, if you're using this as a time to stand up on your soapbox and, basically cast hate on people who eat meat and use this as an example, you're just wrong. You're just flat out wrong. You're just flat out wrong. And for anybody else who's kind of like in the middle, just taking the story in and grieving, I think if anything, what I look at this story and this scenario as is an opportunity to take a step back and kind of look at your own dietary habits. And if you're a fan of the Food Network and you're supporting the Food Network, take a step back and say, well, like, what are we really doing? Why are we putting so much energy into promoting these just gluttonous dietary issues that people clearly have, where you're glorifying eating like, at these diners, drive-ins, and dives that serve garbage cooked in garbage oil on top of white refined flour, all of which we know are carcinogenic, all of which we know are responsible for heart disease, cancer, diabetes, and that these problems all in themselves are really taxing our healthcare system to a point where when a man who's 44 dies because of diet, that's not just one food item. That is a collective diet filled with all kinds of crap that people are glorifying, and people who see that stuff, who are vulnerable, think it's okay to just scarf down hot dogs every day, or scarf down shots of whiskey and beers along with these hot dogs and all this bullshit right here. What in the hell? So look, man, I'm not here to talk ill about Carl Ruiz. I really, my heart goes out to his family, his fans. Maybe I did kind of fall off here and start talking a little shit, but that's not my intention. My intention was to, kind of set the record straight here as far as the people in the plant-based community, and just give my own 2 cents as to what I think of this whole situation. You would hope that no matter how terrible a person is, when they die, maybe they could get a couple days of respect. And then after they're dead, I don't know. It's just terrible to talk ill of the dead, isn't it? Because they can't defend themselves. And if you're a person who does that, remember, it's all going to come back. That little thing called karma, it's a son of a bitch. So I'd love to know what you guys think. Were you fans of Carl Ruiz, or are you on the other side where you're kind of using this to prop up the example of why something like meat is bad for you? Let me know now. Let me know down in the comments where you stand on this whole issue. And if you haven't done this yet, make sure you subscribe to the channel and subscribe to the Holistic A-Hole podcast. Keep watching for more videos, everybody. Got them coming out pretty regularly now. I'll catch y'all on the next one. Peace.